interesting going back. At least everyone's going to be in the same boat.
Yeah. I'm hoping to be back by May with the knee, so this is kind of actually...
Yeah, Chase, it worked out for you, man.
As I'm getting back, everyone's going to be getting a little tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that no one's doing like any sort of like secret cardio sessions, because if they did, they're gonna dominate the fucking world.
I saw them better sit on your ass and eat cake.
Yeah. I saw Meyerkoff post something funny. It said, while I walked in, I had my own in-house jiu-jitsu tournament and I won first place. And it's just a picture of a guy of like his 2-year-old son.
Yeah, I saw that shit. Alright, good stuff. So, Will, I don't think we sent you the questions.
No, but I'm totally fine with just doing them off the cuff.
Okay, cool. So, I figured we can go for about like an hour. If it rolls into like an hour and a half, that's obviously fine too.
Yeah, about an hour would do better with me. I've got to get to dinner at around 8:15 or so.
Perfect. Alright, cool. So, I figured we can just jump in. We could talk about, what's going on. We'll introduce you. If you want to talk about some of the background training that you have, some of the traveling you've done, your, the YouTube channel in the beginning, we'll do the shout out at the end too. And then we'll, Chase and I'll just start asking dumb questions, real questions, the whole nine.
Yeah, sounds good, guys.
Alright, so we'll get a little countdown. 3, 2, 1. Alright. We are not live. We tried to do this live and it was a disaster. So if you are listening right now and you can hear me and you know my number or anything, let us know how we can stream live so that, we can get guests on, things like that, and it's not a recording. We definitely want to do more of that. But we got it set up. This will hopefully be released tonight, which is Wednesday, I think, right? 25th? Yeah, I feel like Gus said it the best. He's like, right now in my life, there are 2 days. One is Saturday, and the other day is not Saturday. And that's it. But Chase and Sean here, official HAO show. Follow us Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole nine. You know where to find us. But we do have a special guest, our jiu-jitsu training buddy, blue belt, white belt competition winner, gold medalist, I believe a gold medalist. And we're going to hear a little bit more about his background now. But Will Sherlund, welcome to the pod, brother.
Don't forget world champion.
World champion, dude.
World champion, gold medalist over here.
Dude, I forgot about that. I'm
I'm doing good considering the circumstances, guys. How are you?
I'm going a little stir crazy over here. I was cooped up with my knee injury already, so now no work and no play makes Chase angry. So
Chase, this really kind of leveled the playing field for you, huh?
Yeah, my return to jiu-jitsu will be great while everyone else is still out not training. I'll be on the up and up, so looking forward to a nice May return, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm held up in my basement, so my wife's upstairs. She's working. I'm down here. You can't see it behind me, I don't think, but I'm actually gonna try to do it. I am setting up an area for mats. You can see the framing right there. So once that's all done, anytime we have something like this, we'll still be able to roll.
Be great.
What about you, Brute?
I'm holding up, man. I'm holding up. Just hanging in there. I've kind of anticipated something like this happening for a little while now, so I might have been slightly more prepared than some people for sheltering in place, but at the same point, it really sucks. By the way, can I curse on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's a new term, shelter in place. That I've watched your videos now for probably about a year, and I've heard you toss around that word, and in my head I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me, and now, that's the only thing people can talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, once you have experience in something, it becomes, kind of more relevant. And sheltering in place has always been something, you think about like with a tornado or with a terrorist attack or something like that. You never really quite think of it in this context, but, this context, it really is the most appropriate um, way to describe, just hanging out in your house, not going in place. We are literally taking shelter from a crazy virus that no one seems to know much about at this point. So, um, I have to agree with all the healthcare professionals out there. I'm an EMT myself. I think that this thing is better if we just kind of ride it out. No one really knows much about it at this point, and it's just the type of thing we don't want it to spread. Even though guys like you and me, we're fine. Like if we catch this thing, from what we understand, we're healthy guys, but we don't want to give it to any elderly people, parents, grandparents, anything like that. So sheltering in place.
Do you think that element of not really knowing about it makes it much more complex? Like if we kind of knew a little bit more about this, do you think everyone would be a lot calmer? Do you think plan of action would be quicker?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Personally, I think the unknown is always the scariest. Like to me, when I first went to my first Naga competition, I was scared to death the night before, but the second one I did was remarkably easier. So
Now, most of your videos are when you're talking about sheltering in place or anything like that. From what I understand, it's a lot about like terrorism and uh, you know people threats. This is a virus threat. Have you had any experience, or was this something that you thought could happen too, or did this take you by surprise as well?
I mean, I don't want to say that I have foresight that I thought this was going to come, but it has been something in my quote unquote preparation that I knew potentially could happen. So, things like stocking up on an extra couple of masks, some extra food and water. Now, prepping for a pandemic is not really that different from preparing for anything else to shelter in place. Only kind of difference is you need extra hand sanitizer, an extra N95 mask or two. Um, so there's only small differences in what you're needing to prepare for, and kind of like how you prepare for it. And that's one thing that I really has always just found interesting about prepping is once you're like quote unquote prepared for one disaster, you're prepared for many different facets of that genre.
So not really too much difference between prepping for, let's say we were to get invaded or there's terrorist attacks versus a virus. Not that many differences.
Well, I mean, absolutely, there's differences, but when it comes to sheltering in place, it doesn't really matter so much the threat. Um, it, it's kind of the same. Now, the only difference there would be, I mean, look, if we did get like a nuke strike come down, the fallout would be something we have to be concerned about. Anyone outside the blast radius would have to be aware of the fallout and contamination and things like that. Now, there are parallels between, biological strike and a nuclear strike and a chemical attack, but it all kind of falls within that, genre of weird shit. So you kind of have to realize that whether you're sheltering in place from, an NBC, nuclear biological or chemical attack, or from a fucking snowstorm or like a terrorist strikes happened in New York City, and here we are. It's kind of the same deal. You've got your food, you've got your water, you've got your DVDs or whatever it is, and not just like mountain house food that's disgusting and you don't want to eat it. Like you got your freezer food, you got whatever Stouffer's, whatever in your fridge, you got a couple of brews in the in the fridge. So
you don't want no beef ravioli? That doesn't make the cut?
Yeah, right. I mean, I'll eat that beef ravioli when it comes time when I've ran out of all my frozen pizzas, but I'd rather be doing that,
So I have a question. Maybe it's my inner faction speaking. When I think of like shelter in place, I mainly think of food storage. Maybe pasta, rice, things that are going to last, a very long time. Canned food. What are some other key like essentials that people shouldn't overlook? Because I know, for instance, like bottled water, if the water supply is not contaminated, your tap water is still good.
Right.
But besides basic food and water, what else are some of the main important things?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you guys, just real quick, when you guys are talking, could just speak up a little bit or move it a little bit closer, that would help out.
Yeah, so Chase, you were asking about what else should we store up on besides food, water, and what are the different kinds of foods that would be maybe a little bit more shelf stable for people to store, but yet enjoyable enough so they're not eating fucking spam or like plain rice. That's a good question, man. And what I would say is typically like canned goods is a good like long term storage thing. I believe they're good usually from like a year to 2 years to upwards of 5 years, and you kind of get what you like when you're preparing your prep. And this could be anywhere from like 2, 3 weeks to a month, just depending on how you want to do it. You could even prep for like a year if you're really a tinfoil hat type of guy. But when you're getting this stuff, you want to make sure it's stuff you like. You want to make sure it's stuff your kids like. So like canned soup, I like tomato soup. I would go ahead and get a lot of tomato soup and some chicken noodle soup or cream of broccoli, different soups, beans, stuff that is rich in protein. Um, Canned vegetables, you're going to need your vitamins not only from, and we'll get into this, but taking a multivitamin every day, especially while you're inside, sheltering in place, would be a good thing. So storing up on some multivitamins would be, a great idea. To expand upon your question about, what else, rice is good. 6 months to a year with rice, depending on how you store it. And guys can do, kind of your own research, but there's ways to store oats, rice, things like that are semi-perishable that you can stretch it out for a lot longer. Make that rice last, instead of 6 months, you can stretch it to 8 to a year. Vacuum seal it, different foils and things like that. There are ways of stretching these things out. Things like powdered milk is a great option. Um, if we look at what happened this time when people were clearing out the store shelves, a lot of perishable stuff was really gone. And a lot of the canned food and longer term storage things were all still there. I found that interesting. Milk disappeared. Chicken, pork, steak disappeared. Um, even heavy whipping cream was sold off the shelves. I wanted to make a damn ice cream sundae. I couldn't find
That was Chase, dude. He bought them all. He stocked.
I don't know what these people were doing over there, but
So is that from a lack of knowledge, or is that because people have already maybe stocked up on those? They want to get those perishable things just while it's the last run before the apocalypse.
yeah, that's a good question, and I couldn't tell you the answer there. I would be more inclined to say people want to go ahead and get perishable things so they can enjoy for those couple days with their families. Whether or not they're thinking ahead that hey, maybe we might have to shelter in place for a week or two and not be able to get out back to the grocery store, I couldn't tell you what they're thinking there. But I know I was thinking, hey, there's a chance this thing might go south. Let me get 2-3 weeks of food and supplies in a non-perishable form in case I can't get out of my damn house.
Now, because we didn't really talk about it too much, but can you just talk about your like the background and like how you even got into like this type of thing and some of the training you have and the the places you've been, the courses, because I think there's a lot. I saw a picture once. You had about 48 certificates, I think, on your wall.
Yeah, I definitely have been around. I've taken a lot of different training, a lot of executive protection training. I've trained kind of all over the world when it comes to counterterrorism, surveillance operations, executive and close protection. Israel, UK, Denmark. A couple of the places that I've been, and certainly the Middle East. And I've kind of ran the gamut as far as learning everything I can about self-preservation and self-sustainment. It's always been an extreme fascination with me. I always say, look, I'll never kind of stop learning about this stuff. I've almost exhausted the different courses that I can take as far as getting certificates, but then I continue to go back, kind of train again. I do evasive driving at least once a year because it's a perishable skill. So, along with EMT type stuff. Obviously, I do that every year. Anything perishable, perishable skill sets are important when we talk about prepping or preparing. I don't even actually like the term prepping. It makes it sound like doomsday prepper or some guy out in the woods with like a big beard. But preparedness, I think, is an important thing that everybody across the board, whether you're an executive or somebody that's going out there every day and seeing the nasty shit on the streets. Like a street cop, for example. We kind of all need to be prepared, and I think this will teach everybody across the board that hey, listen, it's not paranoid to keep 3 weeks of food and water in your house and maybe a generator out in your garage. You just never know what could potentially happen.
And you've been doing this for how long? Years, right?
Yeah, I'd say altogether now over a decade.
Wow.
Wow. And you were recently just in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, that's right. I was traveling around the Middle East. I was actually practicing my Arabic. So I've been studying foreign languages for about 5 years. I started with Israeli Hebrew. When I was training out there with the IDF, I started picking it up and kind of had a passion for Hebrew language. And after that, I kind of transitioned over to Arabic, and now I'm going and transitioning into Spanish. So maybe my next trip will be out to Colombia or something like that. But
I feel like someone's about to just like burst into your like house and just like capture you, like black bag over your head, like you know too much. I feel like.
well, I don't know. My girlfriend sometimes tells me I know too little, but and that's another thing when it comes to preparedness is you never know when a situation like that will occur, and it's not because of you don't have to be some type of Jason Bourne person for that to happen to, right? Like anybody out there with financial resources is kind of exposed to something like that potentially happening to them. Now, again, I realize to your average individual that sounds a little bit paranoid, but you go into Mexico City as an American, and something like that kind of honestly has the potential for happening, if not a probability. So, before you go into Mexico City, would it be paranoid to maybe do some advanced research, find out how to I don't know, say open a handcuff without a key, right? While it's behind your back. Would it be paranoid to maybe even hire a security if you have financial resources? So, the answer is no. It would be honestly a smart thing to do. So when it comes to prepping and preparing for adverse situations, it's like you guys. You guys are both also jujitsu blue belts and very solid at that. You guys are preparing for to defend yourself if you need to. It's not like we get attacked every day when we're walking down the street, right? None of us do, but you guys are more than capable of defending yourselves should that ever happen.
Now, so with that example, right? So the difference of a tournament, let's say, versus a live roll at AMA, the only real difference is just going to be those tournament nerves. But the
Yeah.
conditioning is there. It's not like you forget the moves. Like that's not a thing that's going to happen. But I do like just hearing this as like a person that doesn't do any of the things that you do, that I could prepare to, let's say, shoot someone and everything is perfect and my aim is right. I know how to draw my weapon. Everything is all well and good. But I haven't ever had to do that when someone breaks into my house and my heart rate goes, bonkers. Is there a way to like train for those type of things as live as it could be, similar to the way that you would live roll at a, in class versus a tournament?
Yeah, that's an outstanding question, first of all. And I think what you're talking about kind of is adrenaline dump when it comes down to that type of situation, fight or flight type of thing takes over, as both of you guys know. But, like, for those of you out there who kind of don't know about that, when you get involved in something like that, fight or flight, reptilian brain kind of takes over, and you either want to, like, kind of book off or you want to fight, or some people even freeze. So it's fight, flight, or freeze typically. But, yeah, there's definitely ways you can train that. The way that you train that kind of is similar to the way that we train jujitsu, is doing it over and over and over and over and over again until it literally becomes muscle memory. So, you're talking about the middle of the night, some shit happens, you hear boom, your door gets kicked in, and maybe two guys with shotguns or whatever are rushing in. Um, if you have taken the physical action to, maybe grab up your sidearm and pie around a corner with the flashlight in the right way, if you've done that enough in training, it is hopefully, at least, nothing's perfect, but hopefully going to be kind of a second nature action. I know personally when I go to the range, I start dumping off a mag. I am immediately transitioning to a next mag, even if I'm just kind of at the range, I don't have anything. I find my hand literally going down and transitioning to a next magazine. So there is something to be said for the amount of reps that you do, for the amount of training that you do, and then also obviously you'll see guys tactical guys, when they're doing a lot of their training, they don't run. They'll do sprints, and that's to get your heart rate up, obviously, for the inevitability where shit happens real quick, boom, 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 and then you're used to that kind of fast-paced heart rate.
Yeah, I think that's often very overlooked. People think they, be a little nervous, but be cool and collected. When you have that adrenaline dump for anything, especially in a situation like, if someone was attacking you or doing that, it's one of the most overwhelming things to kind of experience.
Oh yeah.
That time.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone out there, to be honest, is Jason Bourne or James Bond. Everyone kind of will have their own reaction when it comes to that. And I think, honestly, stress inoculation is best done in a real-world scenario. So, for guys like me who have done a lot of the training but haven't been shot at, you don't really know how you're going to react. But I think once you've been there and done it in a real-world combative situation, you're going to know, number one, you get the confidence for having survived through it and know a little bit better, each time that happens, you're going to be able to stay a little bit cooler under pressure. Just like when we go and fight at the Naga or whatever tournament we're doing, every time we do it again, it gets a little bit easier.
Sure.
Some of those courses that you've done, speaking of the shooting ones, I saw some videos. You're out there for days on end. It's not like, oh, I'm going to the range and I'm using different guns. You're going there and they're like hiking through the woods, like literally. Is that like army training?
Yeah, it's small unit tactics training, and that's over at One Shepherd. And basically, what that is you go through. There's 2 semesters a year. Actually, this year they're doing 4 semesters, which is unprecedented. And you go through, and it's a week long each time. There's about 3 days of training. It's a pipeline. You start with your basic warrior course, learning about bounding and your different kind of small unit tactics that people will do. Where without showing it to you, it's difficult. But basically, like different infantry tactics that you can do in kind of special forces, small team unit things. You start with a 3-day course, then you work your way up to doing a 2-day out in the woods kind of simulation training where there's a little more instruction. Then at the last 3 days, it's going to be a continuous field training exercise where we're utilizing the MILES system. Basically, what that is you're using live, AR-15s or M16 rifles with blanks, and it shoots out kind of a laser, and it's like laser tag with real guns, basically. And you've got kind of a thing at the end of the weapon there, and a vest on, and it lets you know when you either get a near miss or a direct hit. And so we'll go and continuously do that for 72 hours, practice all the maneuvers and stuff like that. And it's a 3-year program where you work your way up from kind of the bottom, then you start getting a little bit more advanced classes on leadership and advanced tactics, things like that. You finally work your way up to leading a small, unit or squad in these exercises. One Shepherd is a great place, by the way, for anyone out there interested in getting a little bit of extra training and seeing kind of what it's like to operate as a unit in the field. One Shepherd Warrior Institute, Leadership Institute is a great place to kind of begin your journey there.
And are you doing it with is it your team that you're picking, or you get there, show up day one, and you're next to like 5 random people?
Oh yeah, it's the type of thing where you get there and when you're new, no one really knows anybody, but you keep going back for every semester and you learn somebody's face and you learn, you make friends. And the nice thing about these places is after 1 week, you guys are so tight because you've been through so much together, right? You've been out in the woods, shivering and freaking, up all night because you're on guard duty, sentry duty, or whatever. It's a close bond that develops in a relatively short amount of time, similar to jiu-jitsu.
Of all your different trainings, what would you say has benefited you the most or translated to the most, real world overall benefit in terms of like being able to use it maybe more frequently than the others, or it's most likely to happen, so you're more prepared?
Yeah, absolutely would be the driving. I've been through a few driving courses, and day to day, that's probably the most relevant training that I've received. Especially in the fire service, being a firefighter, either driving the apparatus or just my own personal vehicle on a way to a call. That's always has helped out. But just living in Jersey, surrounded by a bunch of fucking bricks, like defensive driving is something I think honestly most of us should want to take here. But the second thing, and I really like that question, Chase, is honestly just leadership. You know, going to a lot of these different courses and being surrounded with a lot of special forces guys from various countries has really kind of rubbed off on me. And so for my own personal discipline, like in the morning, I always get up and I fucking make my bed like the first thing. I keep my place real neat and clean. Things like that, I know a lot of guys out there kind of struggle with like keeping their place clean. For me personally, like the discipline of it all, having that having that ability to learn. Like when you go through these things, you learn how to learn, I think, and learning how to learn is such an important skill, whether you're doing something like jujitsu or starting a new job. But if you can learn the way that you learn best and learn how to learn quickly, I think that's one of the most valuable skills anybody could ever acquire.
That's pretty good, dude. One of the questions we got is jumping back to the preparedness a little bit. What would be like? I know you said there's some people that they'll go doomsday prepper. They got 3 years of all this food, enough thing. Like if the world shut down, like they're fine.
Rechargeable batteries.
Yeah. What would you say this is one of the questions we got on Instagram. What would be the bare minimum someone like would need to prep for you to be like, okay, you'd be okay if there was shit going down?
Yeah, it would probably be 2 weeks, man. It's not a lot, to be honest with you. 2-3 weeks, a month max would kind of be like your average Joe. I think how many weeks they should be preparing for. And now, I just got to say one thing when it comes to um, prepping for 2 weeks. Now, if you're a guy or girl who lives alone, that's all you need to worry about. But if you're living with your spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, then that's 2 weeks of food and water for both of you. If you're living with kids, then that's 2 weeks of food and water for all of you. So, doing the proper kind of calculation is important there because you don't want to be thinking in your head overly confident. I've got all these supplies, and then it comes down to it, and you're short, and it kind of sucks.
What about toilet paper? Everyone wants to know how much toilet paper they need because it seems like they're
One single ply roll. Maybe die by the store.
If you got some extra, send it over to me. I'd like to have some.
Dude, right now I think toilet paper is like cigarettes in prison. It's currency.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy how these people are doing that, and people buy the damnedest things. I really don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Like what I've been definitely trying to go out there and look at what people are buying. Obviously, toilet paper and paper towels. People don't want to have to take a shower after they take a shit, I guess. But
worst case, you could even use a towel and then wash it if it was really like the end of times. I mean, I don't think people would think of this too much buying 30 cases of toilet paper.
I'll tell you this: people are going to be putting in orders for bidets after this.
Right. Oh hell yeah, dude! Also, I agree with you. I was at the store last week and I was talking about it with my buddy. Actually, he's been on the podcast, Dave. He's been saying people are buying fresh produce for staying in shelter. And you were right. All of the pasta was on the shelf. I couldn't believe it.
Crazy. It's crazy, And like you said, I don't know if those people, maybe they already have.
No, they don't. They don't have anything. They're just like, the world's ending. I need to have my sausage and peppers.
Yeah, exactly. People just don't have to think about this on the regular, right? Especially like if you haven't really traveled to like seedy countries where people live like this every day. You're not gonna really think about someday suddenly a fucking pandemic could come and like lock us all down for 3 weeks. Like, who the fuck thinks like that? I mean, I do because I wear a tinfoil hat on my off time, but like most people don't, and I get that. But the smart thing to do would be to say, hey, listen, like we live in Jersey, right? All right, so there's a freaking snowstorm that could happen. It could be a week before I get back out long term, depending on where you live here. So things do happen. We lived through Katrina, Sandy, yeah. So it's not like people are completely like caught unaware that some shit could happen.
Now,
I just don't think people think about it.
Now,
Yeah.
at what point? So, like, all jokes aside, this is another question we got too. We got a lot of good questions actually about this. When we first posted this out, I was like, we're gonna get doomsday questions. Like, I don't know if anyone's gonna respond, but we got some good ones. So the grocery stores are starting to level out, and you hear on the news it's like if everyone started to shop regular, then it would even out. At what point would someone, in your opinion, need to actually freak out? Like, oh shit, the grocery stores are running out of toilet paper, of food. Like, have you ever experienced that, or at what point would you say that would be like an issue?
I mean, it depends because if you've prepared ahead of time, that really isn't an issue. And what I tell people is, look, you want to be the guy that when everyone else is panicking and ending up at the grocery store and fighting each other in the crowds, you're the guy sitting at home watching TV and drinking a beer because you've already got all your shit. And that's kind of the purpose of preparing ahead of time. It's the fact that, look, we know now that anytime a sudden thing happens, it's going to be kind of all on the same day that everyone goes to the grocery store at once. It's a panic. People are like upset with each other. There's huge lines, things like that. You want to avoid that, not only for the fact that it's like it sucks, but number two for the fact that like, look, if it's a pandemic, yeah, people could be infected in those crowds. You don't want to be among those people. Number three, fights can happen, right? Violent shit happens, stabbing happens in exactly those situations. So anytime you can avoid that and sit back in your castle and with your girl and your brew, like that would be the better thing to do.
Because I've watched my fair share of Gutter Clayton secret preps and videos. So I also feel like too, while everyone's running to get the basics like food, you think long term like antiseptic, medicines or things that you can get for, who knows what's going to happen while you're actually cooped up for a long period of time. You want to think on your resources because you guys have ever watched Boondock Saints? I always laugh when the guy Rocco he goes and shoots the two mob bosses. He then runs back into the house and is like, "We gotta get out of here!" And he throws like an iron, a coffee mug, and a magazine into a duffel bag. Runs out of the house, and I always laugh at that because I think like that's how people are with prep like this. It's always like totally chaotic and whatever they can grab instead of actually like logically thinking it through. Because in that moment you're so panicked.
And there's something to be said for what you're mentioning about the panic and the fear. Like I can feel it; it's tangible in the grocery store. And even if you're kind of logically thinking, even if you have a freaking list, like that fear rubs off from person to person. Like I talk a lot about being able to read energy, and it's not some esoteric thing, but people really do pick up on other people's energy. So whenever you go to a store in a pandemonium like that, you are gonna just not be thinking clearly.
Yeah.
So,
Next thing
like,
you know, you're elbowing an old lady in the teeth, stealing her toilet paper, and you're the
get
one on
away
the
from me,
news.
Granny.
How long do you think? How long do you think this whole thing's gonna last? From all the things that you've read, the training, like when do you see people getting back to normal shit?
Honestly, bro, I couldn't even give you an educated guess on that because there's so much confusion when it comes to this. Like, I don't think anybody really knows what the fuck's going on, and that's like you guys were saying. Like, that's what makes it so kind of like fearful for so many people is you don't know what's going to happen.
And have you? I don't know if you answered this before. Have you done any sort of pandemic virus type training courses or read about it or anything along
Yeah,
these
I mean,
lines?
so they give you a little bit of that in EMT school, like a little bit as far as like the fact that you could be called out to deal with that, but not really much to speak of. They also in the fire academy obviously gave us hazmat and hazmat 1 and 2 and everything. So yeah, this is something that we know that we could be dealing with. But I'm gonna tell you guys, even the first responders out there, like there's not a playbook for this really. I mean, yeah, if it's a chemical attack, we can set up a decon tent and hose you down. You can pass you on to the hospital's decon system, and they'll take it from there. But there's really just no playbook for this. We're writing it as we speak. So
Wow. Um. Yeah. This. Yeah. Everything that I'm seeing online or listening to in the morning is like, we don't really know. Like, if you have a certain blood type, you might be okay, but we're not sure.
Yeah. A, your
Yeah. Now, Will? Did you have you had to tap into your prep stash for this? Did you yourself go out and shop and get a little bit extra?
Yeah, so when it comes to kind of your prep stash, so to speak, I would kind of classify it in three different ways, right? So there's everything you got in your fridge and freezer, right? I would kind of always start with everything in the fridge and freezer because it tastes the best, right? Chicken, and then you got in your freezer, you got like what, Stouffer's or frozen pizzas, whatever. You're gonna want to start with that, and then in your pantry, you're gonna have like your can of barbecue beans, whatever, that type of thing, some rice. And then you're going to have like your MREs, meals ready to eat, or your Mountain House supplies that are like freeze dried.
But are you like ordering that from like army.com? Like I've never seen an MRE. I've seen them, but they're not at shop, right? You're not getting them
right. I mean, yeah, sure. Like you get them online. You got to kind of be in the prepper secret society to really have the good links for like the cheap MREs that you can get in bulk and everything. But yeah, no, I mean it's not even the type of thing. Like, look, MREs are fine, guys. Like MREs, those other heater meals, they're good for like if you really need to store a buckload of food for a long time. Like those Mountain House things and Wise, they're good for like 20 years. But the thing is, they just don't taste good. They don't give great nutrition. So I really don't advise on people, buying a pallet of those things. The MREs, they kind of tend to bind you up a little bit. So like if you're like living on MREs, you're just not gonna have you won't need the toilet paper as much. Yeah, so it just depends. But to have some supplemental of those, like if you start running low on your prep supplies, your normal food, have one meal of an MRE. Have 2-3 nights a week have an MRE, but you don't want to go crazy with these things. Either A, storing them, or B, eating them, just because they're not that appetizing.
So minimum 3 weeks. You're saying 2 to 3 weeks of just survival. Like if you couldn't leave your home, could you survive in your house for 3 weeks? Comfortably. Now, what about water filtration? There's got to be an endless amount of things that are out there for people to use to filter their water.
Definitely. There's a bunch of stuff on the market. There's the big Berkey water filter.
Yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah, and how do you like it?
Dude, we love. Emily won't drink anything else. If she even smells water from somewhere else, she'll get sick.
Yo, what about those things where you can like suck up dirty pond water and it immediately purifies it? What about those?
Like a Life Straw or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I know my prepper.
Yes, you know your stuff, man. Yeah, those are fine, but I think when it comes to having something inside your home, those would be best kept like in a pack, right? In a bug out bag.
Yes, dude. I have this question down here. This is my question. I've been seeing this all over your shit. I like the word. What the hell is a bug out bag?
Yeah, it's a great word. Bug out bag is basically kind of a concept that you need to get from where you are to another place, like lickety fucking split. You don't really have time to go and look around and pack a bag. To have a pre-packed bag that you could, as a last-ditch effort of survival, grab that sucker and go. That's kind of what a bug-out bag is. Basically, kind of a camping bag. You got, your sleeping mat, your tarp, your sleeping bag, whatever you would kind of need to go from point A to B on foot, or to sustain you for about 3 days, maybe a little bit more. And it kind of comes from
3 days. My MacBook ain't gonna fit in a bug out bag, dog. I need the internet. I need a modem.
Bro, you can number one, I'm sure, get a freaking mobile hotspot, and definitely find a bug out bag that can fit your laptop comfortably. You don't have to go without just because you have to go from point A to B, and that is kind of the whole concept of a bug out bag. Honestly, is that it started as kind of a military thing, right? Operators behind enemy lines. The enemy was closing in on them, or some shit was about to happen. They were about to get their cover blown, and they knew it. So ahead of time, they grabbed that bag. It's got 2 or 3 fake passports in it. Different identifications.
You got a fake passport guy?
Say again?
You have a fake passport guy?
Not me. No, absolutely not. But I'm saying that kind of was originally where the bug-out bag, bailout bag come from.
Got it.
Is military guys, special forces guys behind enemy lines who need to get out from one place quickly and go to another place.
Got it. What's in your bug-out bag?
Whole shitload of MREs and some Mountain House. No, actually, I just did a video on what exactly is in my bug-out bag. I would highly encourage guys to go check it out at Gutter Fighting Secrets on YouTube. And
is that where people can find? I know you got to run in a little bit. Is that where people can find you? The best place?
Yeah. So I appreciate you asking. It's on. I'm on Instagram, Gutter Fighting Secrets. Also on YouTube, same thing, Gutter Fighting Secrets. I recently broke in to the youth market of TikTok, so Gutter Fighting Secrets is also on there. And so far, that's where I'm at.
Nice.
We've got a lot of really great stuff about to kind of deploy on these sites as time goes on. So.
Yeah, my bug-out bag is shit. I got Reese's peanut butter cups, electric toothbrush, and Evian water.
Joe, dude, your bug-out bag is a number 6 from McDonald's, bro. Yo, what are some?
Yo, I got one. I want to know, what is the real talk bullshit prepper myth?
Dude.
The made-up shit that people sell you on.
Hell yeah.
Bullshit prepper myths. I'll be honest with you guys. So there is a lot of bullshit when it comes to the prepping market. You see these fucking guys out there.
Because I'm gullible. I'll listen.
You're gullible? All right, so you'd be perfect for the YouTube prepper community then, because there's a lot of fucking bullshit out there, man. And that's where I'm coming in and trying to kind of dispel as many myths as possible. I'm coming at this from a very rational perspective. Obviously, I don't live in the woods in Tennessee and freaking run like a moonshine distillery. Like, I'm kind of a normal, average guy, so to speak, out there in the streets. I don't fucking, retreat into a big, whatever your typical, thing of a prepper is. Like, he's out in his RV in the middle of the freaking woods or whatever. Like, that's not me. I do definitely believe, though, that as Americans, and as people in general, but as Americans, we should be prepared for what's to come. What is to come, we don't really know, but we know for certain that 2020 has been a fucked up year so far. So, just by the art of deductibility or whatever, you can kind of deduce that, again, we might see some hard times. And our country needs strong people to be able to survive through hard times. And I have a saying, if we're prepared, we can come back fighting, whether that's economically, to fight for, continuing to have a decent working economy, whether that's to fight off this virus, whether that's, Lord forbid, one day we see more terrorism and we have to fight through that. But, Americans, we've always been fighting. We love to fight as Americans. That's just what we do. And I think that if we can make ourselves stronger and more prepared, that doesn't mean paranoid, but that means prepared, then we're going to be better off as a nation and a country.
So what's too over the top then? Like, what's a lot of things that people tell you to do or that's too over the top?
Okay. All right, so back to your question, man, about too over the top. Now, there's a lot of shit out there that's over the top. All you got to do is type in Doomsday Preppers, and you're going to see nothing but over-the-top fat people in Wisconsin fucking prepping for...
So, is tinfoil bullshit? There's no, electromagnetic waves that are going to kill us that I can stop with tinfoil. So, anything tinfoil related is usually too much?
Yeah, so, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to keep my tinfoil hat on from that 5G personally, because I don't fucking trust it.
Wow. You heard it here first.
Yeah, for real, though, man. People get really worked up about this stuff, and it becomes a hobby, and it becomes just kind of an entertaining thing. But
right,
when it comes down to
people do it as a joke, and then forget that they're joking after long enough, and then they it's kind of like
that's a good question. I have no idea, man. I think a lot of people are just genuinely stupid people. There's a lot of genuinely uneducated people in the backwoods of the South, and I love them to death as Americans, but it's what it is. And I think that when they watch their zombie movies or whatever, and then they go out and buy a freaking battle axe, and they think they're all ready to go, but that's not what we're talking about.
So Uncle Tim from down south is like, I'll tell you what, boy. All I need is a knife, some duct tape, and this here lemon, and I can fight off a whole bunch of them suckers. That's not gonna work.
It may. I've never fought a zombie before, so I couldn't tell you, but
that's amazing. All right, so I know we got to wrap up in a little bit. We do have a segment here on Have Another One show that I'm going to try to see how I can get it on here. Called Uncle Mark. Chase, can you explain this?
So Uncle Mark is where we throw up photos from either like a social media profile from back in the day, and basically like explaining what this is kind of in reference to, where it comes from, where was somebody at a certain point in time when that photo was taken. So it's based on like the uncle with.
Oh, whoops. Well, that'll be the picture.
The Uncle Mark symbol. So
I'm back.
you're
I'm back.
back.
It's back.
All right, so what I ended up doing is I tried to drop the photo so all the viewers will see this photo. Maybe I'll add it in on the background. Oh, here we go. This is what I want.
Okay. Have it on the back end.
No, hold on. I got it. Okay. I'm gonna have to do. I know. Hold on, boys. Look, we'll get here eventually. I promise.
Yo, Sean, did you get a credit on Family Guy for being Buzz Billington?
Yeah, I know, guys. Okay. So the first picture of Uncle Mark. You know what's coming. You could see it, I feel like.
Look at that good looking dude right there.
Dude, talk to us.
You want to know the background of that story, I'm assuming.
I mean, I think everyone wants to know the background of this story.
So I was in Dubai actually at that point, and I was just walking around talking to people, and basically I stopped into this one little suit, and the guy's like, dude, we need to fucking get you some local clothes. And I was like, bro, like, no. So long story short, he's like, just try it on. So I'm like, fucking man, fine. Give me the Dan Kofia, give me the fucking thing, like I'll put it on. And the girl I was traveling with at that point, she took my photo, and that's kind of, it's become a legend. That's kind of been circulating around like the internet, and I think a few people have seen it now.
That's how you go deep undercover.
Yeah, I know. I think some people kind of got the wrong impression there that was kind of an undercover photo, but hopefully hopefully if I was going undercover, I wouldn't let anyone kind of take my photo with it and circulate it around the internet like that.
I was always curious with that type of like garb. It's very hot in those climates, and I know the sun can burn you. Are you like overheated in that, or it just protects from the sun, but it's still breathable? Like,
that stuff, and I'm forgetting offhand what they call the man dress, but I just call it the man dress. It's very light. It's like cotton, and the kofia, which is the head thing, also very light. So they kind of wear whatever they want under that, so you don't really have to wear much under it, and it's very comfortable.
Is it weird not wearing their clothes though? Like, did that guy have a point? Like, yo, dude, you should dress like us.
Oh no, dude! Like, it would be weird if you wore their clothes.
Because, oh really?
Like, I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. Like, yeah, I speak Arabic, but like, they don't expect me to be like doing that, man. Like, it would almost be slightly offensive if you like walked around like that.
Yeah.
Like who you're fooling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one, dude.
I love that girl so much.
What is this one about, dude?
So I was in Oman, and we stopped by, and we were actually driving, and we saw these camels walking around, and I was like, bro, stop, I need to see these camels. So I go up, and I had with me some fruit, some dates, some nuts, and so I offered this one camel some, dates and some nuts, and she like ate it, and me and her ended up hanging out like for a good 20 minutes. Like, she was really a sweet camel. Turned out she was like a 20-year-old camel. She belonged to some farmers or something, kind of down the road. But I've always had a soft spot in my heart for animals, but that was a sweet one right there.
And they were just on the side of the road, like you would see like a deer in Jersey.
Right. So if you go to kind of rural areas of the states you might see horses or like donkeys hanging out, but over there, mostly it's camels.
Dude, that's incredible, man. Dude, you rock for doing this, man. We appreciate it. I know it's a lot of technical difficulties. Next time we'll make sure once this quarantine's over, we get you live in person. We'll toss a few back.
Yeah, I'd love to come on, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on.
So Gutter Fighting Secrets on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, most recently TikTok, definitely YouTube. Check out some new videos. Will Sherlund on the HAO show. Thanks for coming, dude.
Yep.
Thanks again,
And
guys.
newsflash, ear pods don't fit well in cauliflower ears. They've fallen out about 45 times, so I will know that for next time.
All right, fellas. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks
Peace.
again, Will.